Hey, what's up, guys? Jason here with the Tactical Reporter. I've been debating on doing this video, but I think it's time to start putting more of my story out there. And in order to get my story out there, I'm going to have to start towards the end of what I'm dealing with now and work back towards the beginning. So this video here is going to be longer than normal because I'm going to include documents and proof that Captain Barnes, and I'll show you another picture of him if you don't know who he is, violated my First Amendment rights on June the 11th, 2024. And I've got proof of it. I have video documentation. I have emails that he sent where he lied on official documents. All of that is going to be in this video, and we're going to break it down and we're going to talk about it. I will say this, I worked almost 20 years with North Carolina Corrections. The name changed a few times, but when I left, it was the North Carolina Department of Adult Corrections. If you go back and you look at my track record, I never had a negative comment put in on my VIP or TAPS. It changed through the years. That is the rating system for employees. I never really missed a day of work. You go back and you look at my work record compared to other supervisors that was granted vacations and time off. I really wasn't. I was there all the time. I would answer my phone. I had a state cell phone that if it rung at 2 o'clock in the morning, I was expected to answer it. And I'm not complaining. I enjoyed my job, but it's just that I was treated different than other supervisors. I was required to be at work. I missed my daughter's ball games. I missed just about every game her senior season because it seemed like every day that she had a ball game, something would happen at the prison, and I was required to be there. When she played college softball, I missed a lot of her games. Now, her first year, she played off, and she was always further off, and we really couldn't go to those. But I can remember being at, when she come home, she was trying to get the nursing program at our local community college. So her first year, she was able to play softball. Here, I can remember, telling people that I was leaving work to go to my daughter's game, and I got called back from the game to be in a meeting that had nothing to do with me. So I was, treated different than other captains, lieutenants, sergeants that, always getting vacation time, or always, needing time off, missing meetings. I was expected to be at meetings, but they would miss meetings. Things like that. I was supposed to have shoulder surgery while I was there, but, being gone for 6 months was a no-no. And I'm going to go into that and talk about Captain Barnes. He saw this, and this is my opinion based off how he acted that day. He saw this as a chance to get revenge on me, and he tried to use the local police department that handles law enforcement issues at our prison, their prison now, against me. And they should have known better, but I'm not going to talk too much about them. I'll do a separate video on them because they're actually trying to do the right thing. But Captain Barnes, prior to this, when we worked there, he was mad because I called him out. He was lying on his timesheets about time that he worked. He got mad because we didn't run special management segregation. Some people call it the hole, but it's the special management like Scotland did where he come from. And we were under ACA accreditation. So right before we went to ACA, in my position, special management got turned over to me, and I decided who was let out and where they went on the facility, or we were working with programs in the transfer section in Raleigh on getting them transferred if they had been in segregation too long. So he got mad that they had to call me on stuff. And I was just doing what my bosses told me to do. He didn't like that, but he forgot that I'm the one that helped him get the captain position at Columbus. You know, he forgot that he was the one that they were looking at Scotland for moving contraband when Perk come in. You know, he forgot all about that. But anyway, he saw that as a revenge tactic on me. Now, I don't know if he says he called the warden that day. I can't prove if he called the warden or not, but he says he did. But I don't see him telling the warden the whole story, that I was there for more than just a signature, and her telling him to violate my First Amendment rights. Because the warden received the same email that us OICs received at that time when I was there, because the warden sent it to us on how to address people that are using their First Amendment. So on June the 11th, 2024, I went for two things. I went to get a signature on a paper for my retirement, and I went to get some pictures or video, I wasn't sure at the time, of the facility for the story that I'm working on what happened to me. So Captain Barnes told me that I was not allowed on the property, period, not even in the public accessible areas. Now, I no longer work there. I'm a private citizen. I was never banned from the property. I was not creating a disturbance. I was not interfering with the operation of the facility, so I had a right to be there. If there was a policy, which there was not at this time, there may be now, but on June the 11th, there was not a policy that you had to have an appointment to see anybody in the admin building. I'm going to post pictures of the web page here shortly that we've got, where there was nothing about, calling for an appointment or nothing like that. We reviewed the policy and could not find anything about appointment. And I know that you weren't required to have an appointment because I used to work there. So he come up with the thing that I had to have an appointment to talk to personnel, which is not true. So even if that was the case, he called law enforcement. Law enforcement is there to enforce laws, not policy, which there was not a policy, like I said. So when they got there, what they should have said was, okay, he's saying that it's their policy that you have to have an appointment. So you need to have an appointment. Okay, if that was the truth, I'm good with it. But the lady that was there never come out, Miss Carly Hayes never come out and even looked at the form to see if she could help me. She was told to stay in the conference room by Captain Barnes. So she never come out and spoke to me. If she'd have come out to me and said, Jason, I can't do this. You're going to have to wait till Miss Faith Small gets back or Kayla Etheridge gets back. One of them do it. Fine. I'd have moved on to my next thing and been gone before he would have ever got out there. But when he found out I was there, he told her to stay in the room. He come up there, and I was having a conversation with Miss Mary Britt, known her for years, shut her door so I couldn't talk to her no more. And he got mad when he asked me why I was there. I told him I had to get a signature on some personnel forms, and I had a couple other things I needed to do. He got mad when he asked what the forms were, and I would not tell him, which if it's dealing with personnel, it's none of his business whether he's a captain or not. He does not work in administration or personnel. So he got mad about that and he went out. He told me that I come back in, told me I had to have an appointment and that I needed to leave or he was going to call the law. I informed him that I had a right to be there, and if he felt like he needed to call the law, that was fine, then do it. So he called the law and the law come. Now, from this point on, I'm going to be inserting some video from where the law came. I plainly told them that I was there for signatures and I was working on a story, doing an investigation. When Captain Barnes sent his email, he lied and said I said something totally different. They did not do an incident report because they knew they were wrong for calling the law. And we'll talk. I don't want to talk about law enforcement too long, but the law enforcement didn't even file a report on what they done because they knew they were wrong for what they were doing. But I'm going to insert a picture. We're going to talk about Captain Barnes for a little bit, and then we're going to talk about the emails and stuff that he sent that were just blatantly lies. He sent an official document to the warden and to other people and blatantly lied. And then he admitted to it that he sent on an email that he sent out to sergeants, some officers, all the OICs, some people in programs, that he said I was not allowed on the property for any reason. So we're going to insert some of that stuff and we're going to talk about it. All right, so for those of y'all that don't remember, this is Captain Barnes here in this picture. I did do another video. I found out where he had tribal chief. He's not really the chief of a tribe, and the facility has sent out emails since telling people to take off name tags on their vests that are not state approved. So he was wearing something that wasn't even state approved. But this is Captain Barnes. This is on the day of the incident, and I'll show you in the video. This is where he's telling me that even if I have an appointment, that I've got to have law enforcement to come back with me, which makes no sense. If it's their policy for me to have an appointment, why would I need law enforcement to come back with me? I was not causing a scene. I was not causing a disturbance. Wasn't causing anything. Matter of fact, when he called 911 to get the officers to come, he said that there's a former employee that's not allowed on the property. Didn't say I was causing a disturbance. Didn't say I was interfering with the operation of the facility. Didn't say none of that. He just said there's a former employee that is not supposed to be on the property and is refusing to leave. Okay, as a former employee, I'm a private citizen. Okay, there was nothing saying I could never. Now, I'm not going back inside the actual prison. Didn't even attempt to do that. But there's public areas there that, as an OIC, if he would have read his email that was sent from the Secretary of Institutions, Mr. Peter Buchholz, that come from the General Counsel for prisons on what public areas were and what people were allowed to do in those public areas and what your responsibility as an OIC is when somebody's doing that. And it wasn't called a law on them. Matter of fact, it says you shouldn't even have to call a law. Now, if they start interfering with the operation of the facility and things like that, then yes, of course, you're going to call the law. Or if they're going in areas that they shouldn't be in that's clearly marked, then yes, you call the law. But public lobbies, where I was at, the parking lot where I was going to be at, is all public areas, and it's in that email that we're going to show you. But this here is when he was fussing at me, telling me that I had to have an appointment, and if I did not leave, I was going to be arrested. So he coaxed local law enforcement into falling into what he said. They were so focused on the fact about an appointment to get signatures. I had already told them, and I'll show you, that I was working on a story, doing an investigation, working on a story and what happened to me, and that's going to come because I'm still gathering information on that. But he says some things in the email that he sent that makes me wonder, and I'm not saying he is, was he involved in what happened to me? Because he says something that I've thought all along that I hadn't said, or is the people that were involved in it talking to him about it? Which is, I mean, they can talk, it's not an investigation anymore, but they can talk about it. But anyway, also, if you look at his phone here, he was recording this whole thing. We contacted Raleigh for the public information, doing a public information request to get that video. They said he was not recording. So they did a forensics test on the phone. So we asked for a copy of the report, and they have refused to give it to us. They said the email of saying that there was nothing on the phone is sufficient to what I asked for. But I asked for the forensics report for it that shows when the phone arrived to Raleigh, who did the forensics test on it, all that information, and they were refusing to give that to me. So, but you'll see here, this is Captain Barnes, and we're going to talk about him some more of other things he done. And I'm going to show you a video clearly where he, as a captain, he should know the policy because it was sent out, like I said, the direction from General Counsel. It come through the the Secretary of Institutions, Mr. Peter Buchholz, come down to the region, and the region sent it out to all the wardens sent it out to all the OICs. If he would have read that email, he would have known that you can record in public areas. And I wish I'd have got a better shot of his face, but you'll see he gets mad. You can see it all over his face. He is just mad when I'm recording, and law enforcement tells him, oh yeah, that's fine, he can do that. He gets so mad. But we'll have that in here and we'll show you. But this is Captain Barnes, and like I said, he clearly lied on an official document the initial report of an incident form that he filled out, which is an official document that he sent. He clearly lied and said I said something that I did not say. And I'm going to play what I said because, like I said, I was recording it, and I'm going to show you the email of what he said I said. All right, so let's get into the fine details. So on June the 11th, 2024, I went to Columbus Correctional Institution, my former place of employment, to get a form signed and to gather some information, pictures, possibly video, that I needed for an investigation that I was doing on what had happened to me prior to this year, or that year, excuse me. Was just up there talking to Miss Britt. She knew that I was waiting on Miss Carly Hayes. Matter of fact, she told me she was in an interview. I know they had done interviews, but come to find out, Captain Barnes had told her to stay in the room until he got up there, not to come out and talk to me. If she would have come out and looked at the form and said, Jason, I can't sign this, you do have to wait till Miss Etheridge or Miss Small gets back, like I said prior, then I'd have been fine with that part. I'd have went on, got my pictures, video that I needed, and I'd have probably even been gone before the captain could have got out there. But they intentionally delayed me, thinking that she was coming to.
You got to let him know whether or not he can be here or not. If you don't want him here and you're going off what the warden said, then you need to just tell him.
Per our warden, he needs to make an appointment to get his paperwork signed. Until then, he's going to have to leave the facility.
Okay.
But once he gets the appointment.
But per my First Amendment rights, I can go stand in that parking lot all day and they can't do nothing.
Yeah, I mean, well, you can't be on the property if they're forbidding you. They banned you from the property.
I haven't been banned from the property. I'm First Amendment rights. Right now, I'm doing a story on what happened to me. I'm conducting an investigation. I cannot be banned from state property. That's public property. You can call your lieutenant.
I'll check in on that for you. But as far as the
First Amendment auditors do it all the time.
I've already went through the
and he knows that. They sent an email out to all supervisors over a year ago that if they come on, a First Amendment auditor comes on the property, just let them be as long as they don't enter a restricted area.
You're absolutely right. I'm very familiar.
All right, so in that video there, he says, per the warden, I have to have an appointment. Okay, that's not what policy says. There was no policy on it. So like I said, we don't even know if he really talked to the warden. We're just what he was telling us and the law enforcement officers. I plainly told them, per my First Amendment rights, I could go out there in the parking lot and stand all day, and there's nothing they could do to me. All right, because of what I was working on. And I plainly told them, per my First Amendment rights, I'm doing an investigation with a story on what happened to me. Parking lot is public property. I can go stand in it as long as I'm not interfering with duties. Law enforcement got this wrong. And like I said, I'm not beating them right now. We'll do a separate video on them. But law enforcement got this wrong because they were saying that if he banned me from the property, I could not be on the property. One, I have never been banned from the property, any prison property, or specifically Columbus Correctional's property. Never been banned. Okay. Not received no notice, no nothing. It's public property. I had not done anything to be banned from the public property areas of Columbus Correctional. Now, there's areas there that when I worked there, I was allowed to go into, but now that I do not work there, there's areas that are clearly for authorized personnel only. Of course, I'm not going to be allowed in those areas, but the parking lot is open. It is public property. Law enforcement says I had to do my recording from the shoulder of the road, which is not accurate. Now, you can go to some prisons, like if you go to CP, they have a guard shack at the driveway. Once you pull into the driveway a little bit, they have a guard shack. They only let authorized personnel in past that point. So there, you don't even make it to the parking lot. But most prisons in the state of North Carolina do not have guard shacks that you have to check in before entering the parking lot. So it's public accessible property that you can get into. So I was clearly allowed to be in that area. All right. You can see when I start talking about my First Amendment rights, and as soon as I said that I was doing an investigation on what happened to me, I wish I'd have panned a little bit better. But like I said, in the moment, I didn't. You can see Captain Barnes' face. He gets even madder when I start talking about that I'm doing an investigation. That's another thing that, not saying that he is, but has me wondering, was he involved in what happened to me? So I'm gonna remind you what I said. Per my First Amendment rights, I'm doing a story, completing an investigation on what happened to me. All right, I'm going to show you what Captain Barnes lied and sent to the warden and the regional director, who don't like me, by the way. So he was happy when I was gone. But what happened, what he lied to them and said. So I guarantee you that if any of them watch this video, nothing's going to happen to Barnes because he lied on a public document. They don't care because it was dealing with me. But I'm going to show you what he sent. All right, so this is the summary of the incident. It says on 6/11/24 at approximately 10:14 a.m., Correctional Captain Daniel Barnes was called to the admin building due to Jason Nicholson just standing inside the building. All right, I wasn't just standing. I was there waiting on Miss Carly Hayes. But once I reported there, I questioned him as to why he was here. Mr. Nicholson stated that he was here to get some papers signed. I informed him that he had to set up an appointment and he could get his paperwork signed. Mr. Nicholson stated that Raleigh said he needed to get it signed and that I nor any other Columbus Correctional outranks Raleigh. I did tell him Raleigh had said I had to have it signed and he didn't outrank Raleigh. That's the truth. He did tell the truth there. I asked Mr. Nicholson to leave and he said he would not to call the law. All right, so he didn't ask me to leave. He told me that I had, well, he went back out on the, supposedly made a phone call and come back in and told me that I had to have the appointment. And he told me that if I did not leave, he was going to call the law. And I told him to do what he had to do. I had a right to be there. That's what was said. When they reported and asked to leave, Mr. Nicholson started recording on his cell phone. I recorded once law enforcement. I had no intentions of using my First Amendment right inside the admin building. But when law enforcement come on the scene to protect me, and I'm glad I did start recording. Now listen here, I want you to, he told Sergeant Arnold and Blanks that he's doing a documentary on how he got wrongfully framed and that he needed some paperwork signed to get his paycheck. When did I say that I was doing a documentary for one, okay, and anything about being wrongfully framed? So he lied on an official document. I said I was doing a story on what happened to me. Okay? Some people may say, back and forth documentary story could pay. But when did I use the words wrongfully framed? Now, I do know that what happened to me with inmates' families coming to my house, there are staff out there that were involved with them coming to my house. One of them is Jamie Spielman, wherever he wants to go by, and he was mad at bat. I'm getting off subject a little bit, but I know he was personally involved. But so that right there lets me know that they're talking about me being framed. Because when did that come out of my mouth? It didn't. And needed some paperwork signed to get his paycheck. That's not what I told him. Okay. Now, when Sergeant Arnold later asked me what I needed the signature for, I told him it was so that I could get paid. But I never personally told Barnes that. But Captain Barnes purposefully lied and said that I told Sergeant Arnold and Blanks, there was two sergeants there, that I was doing a documentary on how he got wrongfully framed. And, okay, I never said wrongfully framed. Like I said, even though I know what happened to me, there was some staff involved working with the inmates to have their family come to my house. I know that. Okay? James Spielman, ringleader, one of them. Now it makes me think that Barnes, this is my personal opinion, I'm not saying that he is, and I have a right to believe what I want to believe, but it makes me feel like that Barnes was involved also because he clearly lied on an official document. And I guarantee you they won't do nothing to him. I hope they see this. I hope Barnes sees it because he knows he lied. All right. Sergeant Arnold informed me, Captain Barnes, that I would have to tell him that he was trespassing and that he would have to leave. So Sergeant Arnold messed up because he went in there soliciting a trespass. But anyway, I was not trespassing. I was conducting official business to get the signature that I needed and for the story that I'm working on of what happened to me, using my First Amendment right. So I was not trespassing. And if not, he would be placed under arrest. I informed Mr. Nicholson of that, and he left the facility. All right, I did not just leave. Law enforcement, Barnes was so ad about me going to jail, that I told him, fine, I'll go, because they were violating my rights, that they put me in handcuffs. He leaves that part out because, see, they didn't do an incident report on this. You had a civilian on the property that was placed in handcuffs, and they didn't bother to do incident report because they knew they were wrong. It's a paper trail. Well, here's a paper trail where he lied in his email. I never said what he said I said. So that right there lets me know that, is he possibly one of the ones that was, a part of what happened to me? Now, I'm not putting the blame on everybody. I mean, I was doing the investigation on my own to help get rid of these, because there's people in Raleigh you can't trust. I've got emails from one of the top investigators that they've got, who leads the department now, that plainly told me that all she was worried about was the fake legal mail that was coming in. So you can't trust Raleigh. We really weren't getting no help. I mean, if they would have really done their job and looked at the messages between me and the task force officer that they assigned, he wasn't doing his job either. He was just playing us along. So, of course, I had to try to do it on my own. But anyway, right here, Barnes lied. Would they do anything about it? I hope everybody all the way up to Raleigh sees this and sees that Barnes lied. Listen to the video of what I actually said and look at what he wrote. So are they talking about who framed me, who had the inmate's family come to my house? They've got to be. Was Barnes a part of it? I feel like it, and that's my opinion. I know Jamie Spillman, whatever his name is, was a part of it. But right here, he lied on an official document. All right, so Captain Barnes continues to lie that he didn't violate my rights. The region, like I said, the regional director don't like me anyway, so they're not going to do anything to him. But I'm hoping this brings awareness. Right here, he admits. He says, Jason Nicholson came to the... by the way, let me tell you what this is. This is an email that he sent at the prison. They do a daily events email. So it goes to everybody. It is an associate warden, captains, lieutenants, sergeants, program director, program supervisors, programmers, SRG staff, transportation staff. It goes to just a lot of people. So this is what he said in this email that went out to everybody. It says, Jason Nicholson came to the front inside admin building to get paperwork signed and would not leave the permission. I don't know what he meant, but he was asked several times to leave, that he would have to call and make an appointment to get any paperwork signed. I don't know. Mr. Nicholson refused to comply, and local law enforcement was called to get Mr. Nicholson removed from the facility. All right, this is what he said now. Now remember, I have a First Amendment right to be in any area that is open to the public. OICs, please be aware that he is not allowed on the facility for any reason. So right there, he's telling other OICs, this is the email he sent now, that I am not allowed on the facility for any reason. So if I was to go up there and say, hey, I'm using my First Amendment right to gather the information that I need for the story that I'm working on, based off this email, the OICs are going to say, no, you got to go. And then when I refuse, they're going to call the law again. So that's why, because I don't want to draw it out. I'm not trying to cause a problem, but that there needs to be awareness. Here he is clearly saying, for any reason, please be aware that he is not allowed on the facility for any reason. Using my First Amendment right is a reason for me to go and be in that parking lot in any authorized area that is authorized as public area by the General Counsel for Prisons. And I'm going to show you that email where it says parking lots and everything. So right here, this is in an email that he sent to a bunch of people. He goes on to say he has to make an appointment to get any paperwork signed. On this date and time, there was no policy that said I had to have an appointment. This is something that he wanted, which will be approved by Warden Priest. She will let us know any information that will be needed. Okay? Like I said, I've known Warden Priest for a long time. I don't see her telling him to violate my First Amendment rights after she received the email, same email that we received. I mean, I could be wrong. I think that this is something that Barnes chose to do on his own. He was clearly aware that I was there for something other than signatures, and he chose to call the law. Once the law got there, they messed up. And like I said, I'll make another video on them later because I am talking to them right now. But the prison wants to deny, the Department of Adult Corrections wants to deny that my rights was violated. Clearly right here, he says that I was not allowed on the facility for any reason. This is what he sent out at the end of the day. So unless there has been a change, if I was to go out there right now, to go in the parking lot and get the pictures or video that I need for the story that I'm working on, whatever OIC's on duty is going to tell me that I can't be there. And if I refuse to leave, then they're going to call the law based off of what was sent, which is a clear violation of my First Amendment. All OIC should know that. This was sent out statewide. If somebody's been recently promoted, then the associate warden or warden should make sure that they get a copy of that email that was sent. He clearly had an issue with me and saw this as an opportunity to get back at me. Their first chance of getting me, because I didn't do anything wrong with what they were trying to do, failed. I mean, they slandered my name and got me gone. I mean, here I was a few days away from being promoted to associate warden of that facility, the number 2 person at that facility. A few days away. And I'll show you. Hold on. See, I had already been to Raleigh, okay? For my second interview, I met with the Secretary of Institutions, Mr. Peter Buchholz, and took this picture right here for my announcement for the position of associate warden. Why would I ruin that? But Captain Barnes didn't want me as his boss for one. He wanted me gone. I understand it was, I had my way of doing things and some people didn't like it. I mean, and there's things that I was working on moving into this position. And, but everything I did, I always done it to try to help people. Captain Barnes was mad about the timesheet thing. Because when I was going to move in this position, guess who was going to be in charge of proving his timesheets? Me. I wasn't going to put my name on something where they were clearly violating policy, lying on their timesheets. I had talked to him and I had talked to Lieutenant Ivy about it. I mean, and the reason I had done that is because prior, in the States, you can do anonymous complaints. So as the captain of, admin captain and the facility intelligence officer, I was over transportation, things like that, and we had to get officers to help because there were so many trips. But we had people that would put more time down than what they worked. Somebody filed an anonymous complaint. I had to go in and look at every trip that everybody took versus what they put on their timesheet, and it had to be corrected. So I knew that it could be a problem. If it happened again, it wasn't going to be me going through it and trying to fix it. You will have people from the region in Raleigh coming in, and I didn't want that. And I didn't want my name attached to timesheets where people had lied. And Captain Barnes was mad about that. But why would I have passed the first interview, got called to Raleigh to do the second interview, got through it, same day went and took my picture to be posted when they were going to announce me as the associate warden for custody and operations? Doesn't make sense. But certain people wanted me gone. I guess when you start messing with people's money, they'll do anything to get you gone. And Captain Barnes did not like me, even though, like I said before, I'm the one who helped him get the job as captain. Alright, so this is the memo that I kept mentioning that was sent out by Ashby T. Ray, Chief Deputy General Counsel. Now, you'll notice it has North Carolina Department of Public Safety. This was sent out when we were still part of NCDPS, but I double-checked, and when I asked about the First Amendment, what was sent out about First Amendments, and it was effective on the date that I went, this is what I received. It says, in recent years, numerous government facilities, including those belonging to NCDPS, have been the target of First Amendment audits in which individuals with recording equipment will be recording or live streaming outside a government facility in a manner that is likely to be noticed by employees of the facility. Oftentimes, these individuals claim they are journalists or affiliated with media outlets and will then enter the public area of government facility while still recording or live streaming. These encounters are then uploaded to various websites and social media platforms. All right, listen to this. It is important that we recognize the North Carolina Constitution and the First Amendment to the United States Constitution afford every person with the rights of freedom of speech. This right goes beyond the spoken word and to include expressive acts such as recording or live streaming. We have no legal justification to request such an individual to stop recording or live streaming while they are in a public place such as a parking lot or the lobby area of the government building that is open to the public. When they approached me, I was in the lobby building. It is open to the public. That's where people go to turn in applications. They go to see personnel. It's open to the public. The law enforcement tried to tell me that I had to be on the shoulder of the road, but it plainly says right here that the parking lot is open to the public. When dealing with a person recording or live streaming at or near an NCDPS facility, please keep in mind recording or live streaming from publicly accessible places such as sidewalks or lobbies is permissible. So now right there tells you that Captain Barnes didn't read the memo, because I'm going to show you a video where I'm recording where the officers introduced herself, and he's going to come up and say you can't record on state property. So as a captain, he should have known this, but he didn't. The act of recording or live streaming itself is not a crime, and law enforcement should not be contacted just because an individual is recording or live streaming. An employee or other person in a publicly accessible area does not need to give his or her permission to be recorded. Employees should refrain from telling individuals recording or live streaming to stop, as doing so will likely only lengthen the encounter. Because no crime is being committed, they have no lawful obligation to comply with your demands. Okay? So right here, he went about completely against what the general counsel said. Okay, and I'm going to show you that video, but there's a page 2 to this I'm going to show you. Right here on page 2, it says recording and live streaming within secure office spaces where NCDPS facilities may be prohibited for security or privacy reasons. I was not in a secured area. A person who is publicly recording or live streaming should ordinarily not have law enforcement call on them, cannot be forced to stop recording or live streaming if they are in a publicly accessible area. Parking lot was where I was going to be. Called the law and said I had to leave the property. Should only be detained or touched by sworn law enforcement officers in the performance of their duties, which I was. We hadn't figured that out yet because I hadn't committed a crime or anything like that. Should not have their camera taken from them without a warrant. They didn't take my camera. Alright, it says when interacting with a person who is recording, treat them with the same courtesy and respect as other members of the public, which I did not get. Oftentimes their goal is to elicit an embarrassing or confrontational response, which mine wasn't. I had no intentions of even recording staff until he called the law. There was areas of the facility that's open to the public that I needed pictures of, or possibly video. Allow them to enter and record in any public area of the facility, but politely refuse entry into any non-public areas. I wasn't even allowed to record in the public areas that I needed. Like I said, I started recording in the lobby, which is okay, but that was not my purpose of being there. Alright. Should they ask if they are being detained, you should assure them they are not being detained and are free to leave to continue filming in a public area, which I was not allowed to do. It is best practice to identify yourself and your position when asked. I knew him, so he didn't identify himself. Per NCDPS policy, refer public records requests to your appropriate public information officer. Okay, so they have a policy on that, but the law on it is if I would have requested a public records request there, it's his job to forward it up. Policy does not override law. But I didn't request one. From there, I went through their chain like they got it. If they become physically violent or make threats of violence against you or the facility, you should contact local law enforcement and me. Never made a threat, but he decided he wanted to call them anyway. If you believe they are being disruptive to the facility, contact the Office of General Counsel through your supervisory chain of command. I was not being disruptive. So this right here is what they were sent on how to deal with somebody that is using the First Amendment. I was going to be in a public accessible area. Like I said, where I was recording at was public accessible. And I'll show you where he said I couldn't record there. And the stuff I did in the parking lot, I wasn't even allowed to do because they told me that I had to do it from the shoulder of the road, which is untruthful because this document right here clearly says that the parking lot is a public area. Like I said, unless it would have been a facility like Central Prison where you got a security checkpoint that only allows authorized personnel in. You could record from that point back, but no, you couldn't step any further. So hold on.
You're not supposed to be here on the property, so I want you to go.
Actually, Raleigh said I've got forms that I need to get signed.
What's that?
There's supposed to be no video recording on state.
Actually, that's First Amendment right. I can record. If y'all can explain that.
All right, so you'll see there that when law enforcement come in is when I started recording. Like I said, I had no intention of recording inside the admin building. That's not why I was there. My only purpose in the admin building was to get a signature. And then once I entered the parking lot after I left, I was going to get the video or pictures or video that I needed. So you'll see that Captain Barnes come up and he told Sergeant Arnold that there's supposed to be no recording on state property, which is untruthful because I just showed you the memo that come out. I was in a public area recording. And Sergeant Arnold corrected him. I wish I'd have panned a little bit more, but you can see the anger in Captain Barnes' face because he was proven wrong. And that's the type of person that he is. He was proven wrong, and then he extended it. Like I said, I showed you where he sent the email and lied, saying I said something that I didn't say, which makes, like I said, goes back to me wondering, was he involved in what happened to me originally? Now, that story is going to come. I'm still gathering details on it. I did put out, one of the officers that was involved in it. He knew that I had evidence that he brutally assaulted an offender, James Spielman. I know he was a part of it. Like I said, the state, they haven't done nothing with that either. The inmate even told him, the inmate didn't know the staff's names, but he knew their positions. And he told them, but like I said, SBI told us, hey, something happened, but nobody's talking. At the time that I went for questioning, I didn't know anything. The information that I received and continue to receive was person to person. Spielman bragging about breaking his hand on the inmate's face and knocking his teeth out. That was one of the things the inmate said, that his teeth got knocked out. Matter of fact, he had his teeth, if I'm not mistaken, in his hand when he got to the next facility. But, they let him still be there. They're not doing nothing to him. And he bragged about outsmarting the SBI. That's going to be part of my story of what originally happened to me. So, far as June the 11th, there's going to be more to come on the June the 11th. Like I said, I'm leaving law enforcement out of it right now because Captain Barnes kind of conned them in to being part of this, telling them I wasn't supposed to be on the property. Like I said, I had never been told I could not be on the property. As a civilian, I have, I wasn't creating a disturbance, wasn't doing anything wrong. I was there for two reasons. And I showed you where Captain Barnes lied in his official document that he sent, because he filled out the initial incident report paperwork, lied in it. Then he come back on the email and said I was not allowed on the property for any reason. Using my First Amendment right is a reason for me to be on the property. And you see where he said he did not deny me the right to record. Now, this is secondhand, so I'm just putting it out there just in case he really did say it. I've got proof of what he done. He did try to get me to be able to, for law enforcement to say I could not record. But soon you see how mad he got, and his whole face changed when law enforcement agreed with me that I was right. I will say this, for law enforcement, their part's going to be a separate video. The only thing that they really did wrong is they didn't know what public property was. And the parking lot is considered public property. I showed you in that email I had a right to be in there. And in one of the videos you hear where I say I can go to the parking lot, Sergeant Arnold agrees with me initially, but he says he would have to check on it. His bosses at the police station, the major and the former chief, they've got a new chief now, both told him it was the shoulder of the road, which is not right. I mean, I worked there for almost 20 years. I should know what is considered the public property and how to handle the situation. So, but this is what happened on June 11th. Like I said, I'm going to go do another video on the law enforcement side of it, because the only reason I did not just do one big video is because the local law enforcement and their attorney has spoke to me. If they see this, I mean, they'll see that, I had a right to be in the parking lot. I mean, it was more than just about getting a signature. They all focused on me getting a signature and not wanting to leave because of that, when I clearly told them the other reason I was there. And Captain Barnes reported that was one of the reasons that I was there, but he just changed the wording. So I had a reason to be there, and I was not causing a scene. They made the scene. And then I felt like, personally, this is just my feelings, that they had a plan because they wanted me to come back and they wanted law enforcement to be there, that, something else was going to happen. But I ended up going, didn't have to have an appointment, by the way. Got my form signed that following Monday. Didn't have to call and make an appointment. Matter of fact, the admin officer said she wished she was here, that some people just don't know how to talk to people and deal with them, is what she said. So even she knew that I didn't have to have an appointment. That was just, Captain Barnes wanting to be Captain Barnes and, trying to get me arrested or trying to get me in trouble. And I would have went to jail that day, but law enforcement knew they were wrong. So that's why they took the cuffs off of me afterwards. When Miss Hayes said she couldn't sign the paper, okay, that was fine. That's all I needed to know on that part. But I still needed my stuff by pictures, possibly video, and they told me that I had to leave the property, so they were wrong. But the public accessible property is that parking lot. And I had a right to be there, and they violated my First Amendment rights. But as always, God bless you. I hope that you have a good day, and look for more videos to come. Thank you.